Hello, everyone. Exacto here. We are going to give our post-mortem thoughts on the Azir deck after playing 5 matches, going 3-2, as you can see in our text box tracker here. What do I think of the deck? So, let's start with the good things, the things that I found impressive with the deck, move on to a couple criticisms, and then at the end, I'll give my thoughts about whether or not I would recommend a new player, veteran player, anybody to pick up this deck and bring it to a tournament. So let's start. Azir, fun deck. I had a good time playing this. Some cards that were really, really impressive to me. Let's start with the big one itself. The signature spell, Arise. This card performed exactly how you want a signature spell to perform. Comes down, it makes anywhere from 3 to 5 tokens, 2 of which come in ready. They all pick up weapons, and that will help you double conquer and end the game. It is your end game, and it is a very powerful spell. It is to the point where you look at your opening hand, you see an Arise, you should never ever throw in my opinion, you should never ever throw an Arise back as an Azir player. That is how you finish the game. And I think Azir's end game is very strong. You either draw your Arise and play it, or you hold your champion, your Azir Sovereign, your guy that can come in ready. You hold him back until the very end when you move in with 1 unit to take 1 battlefield, move in with Azir, bring in all your army with you to double conquer and end the game. Two-pronged approach to end, one of which is always available to you, being your champion unit. It's a pretty solid end game. And honestly, the beginning game is pretty solid as well. You always want to see a similar sequence of cards in your opening hand. You want the 1-drop gear, you want the shield, you want the eye, you want the sword. That's why you play 9 of them. You want the BF sword, and you want the brutalizer. You want to spend the first 3 turns of the game stacking up equipments while you continue to play Sand Soldier tokens, each of which are picking up those weapons, and they're overstatted for their cost. And you want to develop your board that way until you get to a state where an Arise will end the game. Other spells that really were impressive to me, Defy, green decks. Never leave home without a Defy. Defy is so useful. I understand it can't counter things like Punch First in the orange decks or various other spells, but man, is this card useful and a welcome addition to any green deck. It's always great. Discipline is another good pump spell that I am never sorry to see. The fact that it replaces itself and gives you +2 power, big game. I already talked about the sword. The sword is the most impactful equipment you can have for 4, and then you tap your 1 guy, you play a 5-drop unit, or a 5-might unit. Good stuff. I was all ready to put, well, I'll save Hidden Blade. Let's move on to the other hidden spell, Guards. I was ready to put Guards in the category of a card that's middle of the road type thing until I played that Azir player at the end in the final match here. I was this is my fault, I was completely overlooking the fact that Guards has hidden. And it's not just a hidden spell that pops up and you get a surprise 2-might guy that they weren't expecting. No. Remember that all those tokens have weapon mastery, meaning that guy flips over, he picks up a brutalizer, let's say, and all of a sudden you're facing anywhere from 3 to 5 extra might on the board, depending on what the thing picks up. That is a big swing in combat that I am sorry to say that I was not playing right up until I saw the opponent do it on that last game. So that took that card from middle of the road to me to, yeah, I see why decks play this card. Death Grip, very good as a combat trick. Again, you have to leave up mana, you have to leave up energy for it, but good to give a boost to your guys if you need to hold on to a battlefield. Let's talk about the sideboard real quick. It's a very clear sideboard plan. You have a plan for gear decks, you have a plan for unit decks, Charm and Vi, and you have a plan for a deck like Aurora with Ash. Pretty simple. You bring that stuff in for those decks, you leave it out otherwise. Easy. Let's transition now to the critiques of this deck. So, starting with specific cards, uh, I was not impressed by On Guard, particularly because it is a Nombo with Eye of the Herald. If you want to make use of an On Guard, let's say on turn 2 of the game, you better hope that your 1-drop gear is not an Eye of the Herald, otherwise you're looking at kind of a dead card. Otherwise, you have to use it when your guy's back in base. Then it doesn't feel as good because you want to surprise the opponent with it. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh on guard, but I didn't really feel it. It was the first one I looked at when cutting for sideboard cards. Whatever. Now this one, I said that I had I alluded a little bit ago that I have thoughts about it. I think this is more a user error on my part than it is a part on the card itself. I don't think I targeted my own units with this spell enough. But whenever I used it on an opponent's unit, giving them a draw 2, that feels so bad. So my thoughts on it are, I see why it's played, I see why it's needed. Maybe someone in the comments can let me know. I'm always open to feedback on gameplay, but maybe you can say what I'm missing here or what the power that I'm missing from this is, because right now I was kind of unimpressed with it, to be honest. Similarly, I didn't really get a chance to use Back Off and Scuttle Crab. Honestly, Scuttle Crab just seems like a way you dig towards an Arise. Squirtle didn't play a whole lot of units. He plays 2 of them. Maybe Scuttle Crab is just a placeover until they print another 1-drop gear that can slot in this colors. But other than that, like I said, he was kind of mediocre here. I will mention Eye of the Herald is very, very good when you're playing Trifarian War Camp, because then you put it on your 2-drop 2-might soldier token, it moves into the War Camp, and all of a sudden you have added 5 might to that battlefield with the addition of the token that it brings with it. But if you're not playing that battlefield, it's kind of like this is the worst one that you want to see that you'd want to see in your always need a 1-drop gear. But if you're picking them, I don't know if I'd want Eye of the Herald. Maybe I'm being too harsh on it as well. So let me move on to general criticisms of the deck. It is a deck with a specific game plan, with a specific sequence of cards you want to see every single game. And having said that, every single game for an Azir player plays out the same way. Start with the 1-drop equipment. Play the 2-drop or 3-drop equipment, depending on what you do. You play another one next turn. Finish the game with a Rise. If you do not have those sequence of draws, if you miss your 1-drop gear, the deck is pushing a boulder up a hill. They're behind the 8 ball. If you are wanting a more varied experience, more variation between matches, I don't think you're going to find it with Azir. He plays the same. He plays very similarly every game. If I don't draw on a Rise is game plan A to end the game. Azir Sovereign can be that guy, but a Rise is what you want. If you don't have an Arise, or if the Arise gets countered, it's tough sledding. And similarly, that the deck plays the same way every time. Sideboarding is very effective against you, and we saw that both in the Fiora match as well as the Azir match when I did it to the opponent. If Fiora or other decks bring in gear hate, they're really going to mess up your day. And how much gear hate do we see in this current meta? A lot. The Annie player plays that red disintegration beam spell. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's the red spell that destroys all gear. You're really messed up when they play it against you. Fiora play or orange decks bring in Akshan. They bring in the yellow decks bring in Salvage. Even purple and blue have some options when playing against gear decks. Every color combination is packing some sort of gear hate against you, and they are very effective against you. Tap 4 and then tap 1 to make your token and play the BF sword, and your opponent responds by, okay, salvage your 4-drop. Now they've drawn a card and taken your turn from you. What do? Well, in the final opponent's case, he left the game. So I guess your options are try to push the boulder up the hill or accept your fate. And that's the thing. When your deck has a mono-minded game plan, it's easy to respond to. The game plan is powerful. There are definitely cards that mess you up. So, general thoughts here. Would I recommend bringing this deck to your Nexus night? Would I recommend trying this deck out as a new player? Let's start with new player. Yeah. It's a powerful deck. It's not super hard. There are definitely decision points that separate good players from bad players. I probably made the bad decisions on some of those games, but there are definitely it is definitely not a super difficult deck to play. So if you give it to a new player and say this is how the game works, they can have some fun, maybe win some matches, and get to learn the game a little bit better. It's cool to bring to a Nexus night too. And obviously players continue to bring it to big tournaments. What separates them is obviously they put a lot of time. They have higher skill. They put a lot of time into learning how to respond to or how to not play into those sideboard cards from the opponent. But I personally wouldn't want to bring that to a big tournament because I don't think I have the skill right now to stop the opponent or to respond and continue to progress my game plan when the opponent hits me with sideboard cards. So, fun deck. I would recommend building it. I would not recommend it if you are bored from doing the same thing every game, or if you are not willing to maybe invest some time. If your plan is, that is, to go to a big tournament, a skirmish or something, and bring Azir, if you don't devote some time to learning how to respond or get around those tricky sideboard situations, I think you might have a rough time playing Azir. So, fun deck, does the same thing every time, and really requires a lot of devotion from its players to respond to sideboard cards. But I had fun playing it. Did some good winning. We went 3-2. We clinched a winning record, and all in all, I'm happy with it. And I'm looking forward as well to closing the book on Azir and going forward to our next legend, which is, drumroll please, Darius. Mr. Darius himself. We're going to hopefully get some aggro going and learn how to play Darius. If you enjoyed the content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps things out here. And as always, I will see you all in the next video. Bye.